which again, I feel like the no stock attachment should be a minus attachment. It should not be an attachment. The lack of attachment should not be an attachment. What's up guys, it's the Midget Army here, and in today's video we're going to be going over the Season 5 loadout guide, and we're starting right now. Okay, so the very first class that I've got here, I've got set up for my Grau for the Warzone, Monolithic Suppressor, Tempest Archangel Barrel, the Tac Laser, 60 round mags, and the XRK Void 2 grip. Now this weapon, even though it did receive a buff recently, it's still just an absolute beast, and I find myself getting killed by it. So yes, this did receive a little bit of a range nerf, but I don't think that it's any excuse to stop using the weapon, because it is still an absolute beast in the Warzone. Now typically for all of my classes, I've got two different classes, one that I'll pick up in the very beginning of the match, and then a second one that I get somewhere later on throughout the match, whether it be throughout another loadout drop or us buying. So this is typically what my second class looks like. I'll walk you through my first class here in just a minute, but usually I've got an RPG or a Strela P as my rocket launcher. I prefer the Strela P because the RPG flies almost as quickly as some of the bullets in the game, and it's a very heavy hitter. Now typically, especially as of lately, I've changed out my amped for tracker, and the reason for that is I find myself actually finding enemy footsteps on the floor more often than I don't. And if any enemy has been in the vicinity, you will see their footsteps, so long as they've been in there within the past, I believe it's 10 seconds. And we all know how important UAVs are. Just information on where your enemies are in general in the game is super important. So I think that the more information that you have on an enemy, the better your chances are of winning your next match. So next up, we've got Ghost. Much like the point that I just made, as much information as you can get on your enemies, the better. The less information that your enemies can get on you, the better for you. And next up, I've got E.O.D, and that's mainly to protect me from C4s, which I'm also running in my class. Last but not least, I do run the heartbeat sensor again. At one point, I was running a stun grenade, but I found myself needing the heartbeat sensor a little bit more than I thought I did, so I just decided to switch back. The next class that we have here is the M4. Now, the M4 has always been an excellent weapon, whether it be in multiplayer, whether it be in Warzone, whatever you're going to be playing here, the M4 has always been an excellent gun. Now, my personal class setup for this, and a lot of people are going to disagree as far as the barrel goes, because most people are going to be running the M16 barrel, the Grenadier barrel. I personally don't. I don't think it's necessary, but to each their own. So I've got the Monolithic Suppressor, Corvus Custom Marksman barrel, 60 round mags, VOK optic, and no stock, which again, I feel like the no stock attachment should be a minus attachment. It should not be an attachment. The lack of attachment should not be an attachment. And of course for this class I'm running all of the same. You know, I've got my RPG or Strela, I've got E.O.D, Ghost, and Tracker. We can effectively ignore these here. I was just playing multiplayer trying to get some camos, and in multiplayer I do use the specialist perks, and obviously C4 and a heartbeat sensor. Now we're on to this guy here, the BRUEN. I love the BRUEN, mostly because it's given me my most viewed video on YouTube for the class setup. Link for that video will be up here or over here, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But with my BRUEN, I am running the Monolithic Suppressor. I decided to go ahead and go with the XRK Summit barrel. Now, in my original BRUEN video, I said that there wasn't much of a difference between these two. I went back and tested it, and it turned out that the Summit barrel actually does give you a little bit more recoil control, and I think that at a minimal difference in the mobility, I decided that it was worth it. And I've got a Tac Laser to speed things up, 60 round mags, and the VOK 3.0x optic. Same setup here with my BRUEN class, RPG, same old perks, same lethal, same tactical. Here is where I will actually get into my second classes, because you can see here that I've got these two set up for multiplayer. I typically have two classes set up specifically for multiplayer, and they're usually different, but I change them for the video. And this is typically the loadout that I will grab in the very beginning. So I'll have an HDR with Overkill, obviously, and this is the main difference between the two different classes that I use for Warzone. So I do typically use something like the HDR, which I think is the best sniper rifle in the game, because there's virtually no bullet drop at any range that you're going to be using it. If you set it up like this, we've got Monolithic Suppressor, the longest barrel that you can put on it, which is a 26.9 inch barrel. a tac laser just to speed up your ADS a little bit. You don't have to go with a tac laser, but honestly, I don't really see a reason to use anything else. Got the F-Tac Stalker Scout just to speed up the ADS a little bit more because sometimes I do want to hit faster shots. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't really care about ADS speed, you can always go with the F-Tac Champion, which adds some aiming stability. It's going to make it a little bit easier for you to line up your shots, but me personally, I prefer the ADS speed. And finally, we've got Sleight of Hand. I choose Sleight of Hand over an ammunition upgrade because if I were to use an ammunition upgrade, it weighs down the weapon more than I want it to. So instead of me having 4 more rounds in the magazine, I just decide it's easier to have it reload faster. And for whatever reason, if I decide I should be running with my sniper, it's going to be a little bit faster in that scenario. So next up, we've got the Ram 7, which I will agree with anybody who says that the Ram 7 is not meta, because I don't see the Ram 7 very often, and honestly I feel like that's a problem. I feel like the Ram 7 is so much faster as in the time to kill department than something like the M4, which is meta. The only reason that the Ram 7 isn't in the current meta is because people don't like its recoil pattern. Now, the problem with the Ram 7 is that it goes up and to the left, which a lot of people are not used to, because 90% of the guns that you're going to be using go up and to the right. So a lot of people are not confident enough with the Ram 7, but me personally, I love this gun. And this is my class setup for it. We've got monolithic suppressor again, the Forge Tac Eclipse barrel, which is not the FSS Ranger. I decided to go with the smaller one because when I was testing recoil, I noticed that there wasn't a big enough difference for me to justify the mobility that is lost when you compare it to the Forge Tac Eclipse barrel. I've got tac laser, commando foregrip, and 50 round mags, which unfortunately is the biggest one that you can use for the Ram 7. They don't have 60 round mags for the Ram 7, but it's okay. An extra 10 rounds I don't think will make or break a game. It's possible that it could, but I don't think it will. Now, if you are comfortable enough controlling the recoil for the Ram 7, you could get rid of the commando foregrip and go with an optic, or you could get rid of the tac laser, but me personally, the way that I'm using the Ram 7 is as what it is, which is an assault rifle. And if I have to run from enemies and I'm using, let's say, this class here, or even the class with just a rocket launcher, I can't switch to a different weapon so that I can run faster. So I'd like to have a little bit more mobility with my Ram, with the Ram 7, because it's not very fast. But it is fast compared to my HDR, which I just gave the setup for. Same thing across the entire board, it's just what I use. Next up, we've got the M13. The M13, I'm not 100% sure it's meta, but this gun is crazy good. It has got 0 recoil. As a pea shooter, it's got 0 recoil. It doesn't hit very hard because it is a pea shooter, but it's got no recoil. It's got nothing. When you fire this gun, nothing happens. It's just like you're aiming in the same spot. And the way that I achieve that is with the monolithic suppressor, the longest barrel, which is the Tempest Marksman, commando foregrip, 60 round mags, and the good old VLK 3.0x optic. Now, the reason that I love the M13 so much is because it's got that pea shooter aspect to it. Now, since it's got 0 recoil, you can stay on your target that entire time. So if I needed to hit 100 shots on my target to kill them, I could, because the gun isn't moving. And if you guys haven't given this weapon a try yet, I really advise that you do. Just give it a shot, you won't regret it. Now, the second to last weapon here, we have got the Kilo 141. We all know that this weapon has been used way more than it should be right now. Me personally, I don't like the Kilo. I don't think that it hits hard enough. I don't think that it is as steady as people make it out to be, but I do get killed by it all the time, so I'll give it to you guys. But this is the class setup that I did use for the Kilo 141 that I decided it was worth the shot. So we've got the monolithic suppressor. I believe this is the longest barrel that we can put on the gun, the 19.8 inch Prowler. Now, I know some people will go with the SOCOM barrel instead, but hear me out. I go with the Prowler barrel and the 100 round drum mag with the commando foregrip and VLK optic because I'm using with this class the last meta weapon in my list, which is the MP5. Now, even though the MP5 did receive a little bit of a nerf recently, it's still the best SMG in the game. This little guy is basically unmatched by all of the SMGs in the game. The only thing that even comes close to it is the MP7, but it still gets outcompeted by the MP5. And for the class setup on this, I'm running the monolithic integral suppressor, a 5 milliwatt laser, 45 round mags, stipple grip tape, and the F-Tac collapsible barrel. I try and keep this as quick as I possibly can because as an SMG, I need to move pretty quickly, and if I'm going to be using an SMG, typically I'll be in closer range engagements. I'm not going to pull this thing out as I'm shooting at a sniper glint. So the fact that I am using the MP5 as a secondary to this super heavy and super slow Kilo 141 variant, I can justify having the longest barrel on it and the 100-round drum magazines. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And I do upload every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So thank you guys for watching and happy hunting.
No!